Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Seen Beyond and Through with Monty. Right before you is a lady who has been making quite a name for herself, but for all the wrong reasons. As you know, this is Mrs. Dani Leigh. And Dani Leigh had said some things in the past that did not go over well with people. And she made it bad for herself by releasing a song, Yellowbone, and made it even worse with a half-hearted apology. That was very disingenuous, to be honest with you. But I'm not here to really talk about that. I'm going to answer a question that someone posed. But I want to give you a little breakdown on her DNA in which she released. She stated right here that Portugal, she's 27%, Spain, she's 19%, Cameroon, Congo, Southern Bantu peoples, 12%. Let me see, Italy, 6, Mali, Mali, Benin, Togo. So as you can clearly see, well, let's move on before I get to what I want to say. Germanic Europe, Indigenous American, Yucatan, 2, European Jewish, Norway, both 1%, Greece, Balkans, 1%, Middle East, 1%, France, 1%. Now let's go back here to the African. It's basically 9% African. She's 9% African, and she's now, as they all do, when they get into trouble or when they get fire up their ass, when controversy breaks out, they claim that they are black. Okay, I'm not going to dispute her claim. I'm not going to confirm or deny it, because that's not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this right here. The $1,000,000 question: how can you call yourself black when you are around 80% white? Dani Leigh, as you clearly see right there, Portugal 27%, Spain 19%. Yeah, so she's majority white. But I'm going to attempt to answer this particular question. And the reason why so many people like her, one of the reasons is, this is one of the smaller reasons, is because when they get into trouble, they want to run back to the black community because black people have a history of being very forgiving. That's one of the reasons why. But I'm going to tell you why light-skinned people like her, who are not really black, who have some black in them, like to identify as black or dwell within the black community or hang within the black community. And that is because, as basic looking as she is, now let me just say one thing. She's not ugly. However, I do not think she's beautiful neither. I think she's very plain, basic looking, to be honest with you. Nothing to write home about. But if she were to go into the white community, which is where she should be, she would have to compete with women like this, and like this, and like this. Now, if you notice, I chose basic white women who are not beautiful, who are on Dani Leigh's level. But here's the thing. They are white. Dani Leigh, even though she is majority white, she's not quite white, the way that white men prefer them. Because 97% of white men definitely do prefer white women. Dani Leigh, even though white, would be an ethnic white or an other. So with her being not on the top of the food chain in the white community, she knows that with these basic looks, with this light skin, and with her non-C, 4C curly hair, she would be at the top of the food chain within the black community because of colorism. Colorism is a caste system within the black community. She knows that within the black community that she would benefit and she would be at the hierarchy. So this is the reason why she chooses not to go into the white community or to claim her whiteness or to hang out there or to try to seek validation from white people. It's just not going to happen. And let me just tell you something. As you know, I've done videos about this. When white people are attracted to black people, when they have an affinity, you can call it a fetish, you can call it a sexual attraction, you can call it they're digging into black people, they tend to prefer the darker tones. This is the reason why someone like Lupita Nyong'o, well, this is not Lupita. I don't know who this beautiful actress or model is, but more white men, even though they do not prefer black women as a whole, or white men as a whole do not prefer black women, more white men would prefer this over this because she is more exotic than Dani Leigh. Dani Leigh is not white, but she's white, more of an ethnic white. However, she's too close to these women right here to be considered exotic by white people. So white men will prefer this. This is more like the African or black experience. Dani Leigh would be at the bottom of the food chain there. She would be asked constantly, what do you mix with? And I would go so far to even say this. And I'm looking at Dani Leigh, and we really do need to fix our colorism within the black community. Because to be honest with you, the only thing that a lot of black men see in her is the very fact that she has light skin. This model here is infinitely more beautiful than Dani Leigh. I mean, there's no comparison. Not only that, Lori Harvey can run rings around Dani Leigh. Back in the day, so could Lauryn Hill, even Kelly Rowland, even Regina Hall, even 50-year-old Gabrielle Union are much more attractive than Dani Leigh. So the reason why these women who are very light-skinned, or what do they want to call themselves, yellow bone, they hang out in the black community is because they have status. They have privilege. They know that it can get them over darker skinned women because they are lighter toned. They don't dare go into the white community because within the white community, they would have no status. They're not white. White men would prefer darker toned people, black people. Dani Leigh would be too light to be on any status symbol within the white community. Do not let that so-called thing about light skin privilege fool you. Light skin privilege or colorism is within the black community. Out of the black community, there is no such thing as light skin privilege. The light skin privilege that were granted to some slaves, it was only as a result of the Willie Lynch letter. Well, pardon me, if you read the Willie Lynch letter, you will get a better understanding. It was the result of trying to break people apart, tear black people apart. It was a divide and conquer tactic. It wasn't so much that they liked these light-skinned people. No, that was very much divide and conquer. We treat you better, we show you better. It'll create animosity between the different skin tones. It's nothing differently than what they did between the Hutu and the Tutsi, which caused the Rwanda genocide. They told one group that your brain is more like ours, so they started treating them better. And one of the group developed animosity. They were able to divide and conquer. So that is the reason why someone like Dani Leigh is choosing to be black as opposed to being what she truly is, which is the majority white. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that was another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. And I will see you beyond and through.